Welcome to lesson 21 of web design. In this lesson we are going to go over all that we have learned so far when it comes to HTML. We are going to reinforce concepts and good design principles. Firstly, we learned about websites, web pages, hyperlinks and URLs. We said that a website is a collection of web pages. A web page are what makes up the World Wide Web. These documents are written in HTML, which stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and are translated by your web browser. Web pages can either be static or dynamic. A hyperlink is a word or phrase or image that you can click on to jump to a new document or a new section within the current document. Hyperlinks are found in nearly all web pages, allowing users to click their way from page to page. We learned about a URL, which stands for Uniform Resource Locator. A URL is the address of a specific website or file on the internet. Then we also learned about the text editor or an HTML editor. And the HTML editor that we use so far is Notepad++. We learned about what is HTML. It stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It is the main markup language for creating web pages and other information that can be displayed in a web browser. We also learned what is syntax and what is HTML syntax. HTML syntax refers to rules and regulations that need to be followed when constructing sentences or code of HTML. We also learned about HTML tags, in that it must start with a less than sign and it must end in a greater than sign. We learned about opening tags as well as closing tags. The difference between an opening tag and a closing tag is that the closing tag has a / in front of it. We also learned that HTML is called a markup language because it uses markup tags to describe how the text on a web page should be arranged. We looked at HTML elements and their tags. We looked at structural elements, we looked at the body element, headings, head element, HTML element, paragraph element, and so on. We also looked at the opening tag as well as the closing tag. We also learned that there are some elements that have an opening tag but do not have a closing tag. The basic document of an HTML program, we must start with the HTML element and end with it. Inside the HTML element we have the head element and the body element. The head element contains the title element, which contains the title of the web page, and the body of the body element contains the contents of the web page. If we look at the HTML programs and their output, we have the path where the program is found, we have the name of the program that is saved on the computer or the file name, we have the title of the HTML program, which is contained in the HTML tag, and we have the paragraph of the program or the body of the program. We also went in depth into the heading elements and said that the heading elements start with H1 right up to H6, and the biggest is H1, or the biggest font is H1, and the smallest is H6. We learned about text elements, and the text elements that we used were the paragraph element as well as the break element. Remember that the break element does not have a closing tag or an end tag. We learned about the horizontal rule element. Again, it does not have a closing tag. Heading tags also create an open line above and below the heading when the web browser displays it. We learned about text formatting, and we can make text stand out by making it bold or by making it italics. We learned that in our HTML program we can insert comments. The tags to insert comments are the less than sign, exclamation mark, dash dash, and to end the comment will be dash dash and the greater than sign. Comments can also help you when you are coding a web page. The web browser will ignore all text that is placed within the comments tags. Comments are invisible to a web browser when it displays your web page. Moving along to HTML attributes. We said that HTML attributes modify the HTML elements. They are contained within the starting tag of the HTML element. For example, we have body, which is an element. We have BG color, which is an attribute of the body element. We have the equal to sign, and thereafter we have the value, and the value must be contained within double quotes. We learned about plain text and text formatting. We learned about good website and web page design. We learned about HTML links. We learned how to insert a hyperlink. We learned what is a hypertext or a hotspot. The tags, we learned to insert a hyperlink, we use the anchor tags, which is the A element. We also learned about the attributes of a hyperlink, and here we discussed href, which is equal to URL. The uniform resource locator is basically where your document will, or your file that you want to go to, will be stored. We learned about inserting HTML images. We learned about the source image. We also learned about the image attributes. We learned about the align attribute. We learned about the height and width attributes. We learned about the alt attribute, as well as we learned about the border attribute. All belong to the image element. Thereafter we learned about lists. We have two types of lists, unordered lists and bulleted lists. The tags for unordered lists will be UL. For bulleted lists or unordered lists will be OL. We learned about the different types of numbered lists, and we can use small letters, capital letters, Roman numerals, as well as numbers. And lastly, we learned about list items. We learned about their tags, and they are used within unordered and ordered lists.